it is telling us that we might honestly be live. And then it's going to do the thing. Well, we'll say hello. Hello.
Hello. Welcome to Connection with Spirit. I'm Deborah Epstein.
Mute. It did mute. Yay. Oh, hey, I was not expecting that. So normally it does not mute, and this time it did mute. So, anyways, yes, Connection with Spirit. I'm Larissa Russell. And Deborah Epstein is here with me. And we were just having this amazing conversation, thinking we need to share those conversations too. And we just need someone else to take care of that part. There's just so many
Yeah,
great ideas we have that it's just,
yeah,
to have someone that will just like, okay, yes, that's a great conversation to share. We should do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're just, yeah, we're just like full of creative flow. It's just flowing out of us over here.
We
Yeah.
absolutely are. And I'm going to see if I can find the chat here. That's the one thing it does. It does take us automatically to the live, right? Great, wonderful. It doesn't automatically show the chat. So then I have to go looking for it. And I'm like, why do I have to go looking for it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Filling.
It's like if you're going to automatically bring it up, YouTube, if you're listening, if you're going to automatically bring it up, could you bring it up in such a way that it's going to be helpful? And yes, so I'm going to try and find it again. My channel, the live. But yes, welcome, welcome. I have no idea who's here because now I can't see anything.
And I'm on the wrong, I'm like on last month's.
Well, there we go.
So
So I
it's
think I have
it's just
found
so
us.
much
I
fun.
have found the chat. We do have people watching, so welcome to, reality. This is reality. This is how it really works behind the scenes, is that sometimes it doesn't work behind the scenes. And you
Exactly.
just go with the flow. So welcome. I can now see the chat. So if anybody wants to say hello, you can. And if you don't, that's fine too. But we do love including you in the conversation. And today, we,
We have four, I see we have four people or so
all right, there we go.
yeah,
There's
pop
always people that
in
watch
and
afterwards as well. So even if you're watching on the replay, say hello, tell us your thoughts. We would love to hear. If you have something you want us to talk about too, because we can go on just about any tangent
Mhm,
and often do. Lately, we've had, topics come up as we've had our conversations because we actually talk weekly
mhm.
and then we join you live monthly. So we could do a whole other, you know, um, I don't know, show behind the scenes of all the conversations we have. But we do have some amazing conversations. So
Yeah.
if there's anything you want to talk about or you'd like to hear about, definitely please tell us because we would love that. We'd love
Yeah,
that.
and also share your perspective on what we are talking about because today we are going to be talking about like affecting change. We had a whole conversation about is it affect or effect? So
Yes. We are affecting change so that we can make, how did we say it? We had both of them in there. We are
yeah,
affecting change,
so that we can feel the effects
effects of the change. That's
of
it.
the change. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Language.
But yeah, so we were talking about that and how it really is a journey inward, right? We're moving from being so distracted from the outer world and trying to change that world out there.
Mm,
That, some of us feel like we have this mission, we're incarnated to save the world. And what I would say is that, it's a collective effort. It's not just up to you and you alone, and I had this one too. That's why I'll speak into it because and it's like, it's funny, you kind of get the wires crossed on that message because you do see so much wrong
mm,
out there and you are a sensitive, empathic, healer, artist, creative, and you just feel this deep pull to help shift because you remember that there's a better way of doing this. There's a freer way of
mhm,
being. And so what we were talking about is how much like we forget like those things we do in here
mhm.
extrapolate out to the bigger picture and how that exactly happens. So I'm gonna kind of let
Yeah.
you
And
fill in some gaps there too.
yeah, well, and I think just as you were saying there too, the remembering, right? And we were
Mhm.
talking about this earlier as well. The remembering, we know, our soul knows. We know. And so it's the remembering of things. But then yes, the internal is actually what affects change. Affects, we're not going to do that one again. Affects change in the world.
When you're speaking it, right, there's no letters, there's no letter
That's true, I
evidence
guess.
as to like, so
But now
they
my
can
brain
guess,
is like,
did she
wait,
use an
no,
A
what?
on that or did she mean the E?
That's true. That's true. But yes, the work that we do internally makes change externally. And that's the part we forget. We're so busy trying to make change externally that we don't work on the internal, which actually does create that change.
Mhm,
And yeah,
mhm.
which I think is an important part to speak to.
Yeah. Yeah. And, some of what I was saying too earlier, we're going to just probably redo our whole conversation that we had before the
That's okay.
conversation
Yeah.
was how like I'm noticing this dance with myself that I do. I'm on I would call a sabbatical, kind of taking a break and kind of regrouping with myself. And I feel a lot like I'm just in this really nice creative bubble. But then sometimes within that, I struggle in it because I'm like, I feel like, oh, I'm not being productive enough. I'm not doing, I'm not driving hard enough. And I'm a person that's very driven. I've learned how to
Hmm.
really, set them up and knock them down, like the best of them, right? So for me to be taking this time is like there's something I'm going through. I'm not, and I want to say too that like there is this thing about the money conversation in there as well, is that I'm not independently wealthy at all. And it's a huge leap of faith to be doing this,
Hmm.
to really listen to the voice of my soul. And let me tell you, since I've been doing that exact thing, things come in. I'm shifting how I'm doing my business. I'm allowing myself to go back to doing what I really love, which is hands-on work, which I stopped doing when COVID happened. And I just got on this track of online, no more hands-on. I'm just going to do online only and blah, blah, blah. And it's in the last year, I kind of knew it needed to end, but I kept driving. I kept driving.
Hmm.
I kept driving. And so, coming to this place of being in a bubble and being okay and allowing things to flow into me. It's like I made a good amount of money this month doing very little work and not working to get the work. It's
Hmm.
just because it's like I put out an energetic sign that I'm done doing it this way. I'm done pushing. I want to take some time for myself, and I'm good with people who just randomly call and want
Hmm.
to get on my table. And it's enough for me right now. And the funny thing is that what I love doing is like sitting at my mesa behind me and being with my guides and just daydreaming. And that some days you think like, oh, that's like so awesome to be able to do that. But some days it's a real battle with myself. And then there's nobody over me but me
Hmm. Hmm.
saying you should be doing this or you should be doing that. You should be blah, 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 blah. And what's happening is I'm going through a transitional phase where I am kind of deprogramming myself, and remembering like how potent sitting at an altar,
Hmm.
connecting in with all there is and playing the game on that level and
Hmm.
how that affects or yeah affects I'm gonna do it too because we had that conversation. How that simple thing that's fun that we love to do, that's nourishing, that feels good, that charges you up, also does the same for
Hmm.
the energetic field that we all play in, the whole collective plays in.
Hmm.
So that's like self-care is care for everybody.
Yeah, and that energy is building, right? As more and more of us are doing it. I had a similar situation, much shorter time frame because it was today, and I had some, I was doing some soul work and really looking in and connecting with the energies of my body, and afterwards was done, like done. And I was like, normally I would have just pushed through. I have meetings, I have this, I have that. And I was like, no, I'm going to take my teddy bear and go to bed. I'm taking my teddy bear and I'm going to bed. Well, he's a pig, actually. He's a pig, but
I love that. I love that even better.
yeah. He's my Wilbur. And so we just cuddled and I just was allowed myself to be like, I need this. I need this care right now. I need this
Mhm.
care right now. And so I did that and then came back and was like, okay, yeah, I can do this. I've got this. And came from a totally different place. But if I had pushed through, my whole day would have been thrown off
Mhm.
instead of just canceling two things and going on, right? Yeah, I might not even be here because it would be, my whole day would have been thrown off. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like that's the feminine, right? It,
Hmm.
there's a both and, right? There's things that, like, okay, there's things on the agenda that need to get done. And you need sometimes that masculine drive that we all have to get it done. And then there's the feminine that says, like, wait, there's this can wait, that can wait, you might even be in a better space if you wait till tomorrow
Hmm.
to get that task done. What you really need, girl, to lay down with your little stuffed pig and take a
Yeah.
nap. Let yourself, feel the energetic shifts, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that, like you said, ripples out, right? I show up in a different energy than
Hmm.
if I hadn't done that. And that then ripples out to the people that I talk to and the people I share with. But the whole energy field, we are one, right? We are a
Hmm.
collective and we are individuals within that collective, but then we are one as a collective as well. And that
Hmm.
energy makes a difference. And the more of us that start to recognize that and shift that energy into that,
Hmm.
the better off we all are. Better off
Hmm.
we all are. And so it's really self-care for the world when I go and have a nap.
There's a hush that falls over the world. Oh, Larissa must be taking a nap
Nap.
now. Wouldn't it be cool if you could like actually feel it that way? But like they've
Yes.
done experiments where, Lynn McTaggart is one that comes to mind that had this whole like peace meditation thing, this global peace thing, and at a certain time everybody meditates, and they've done it in certain areas like in the Middle East and stuff like that, and they record like while people and it I forget what the numbers are because there's a certain mathematical equation to
Hmm.
how many people it takes to affect a certain area, but they recorded like whatever this group number was, that in this radius that violent crimes went down and all sorts of stuff that where there's normally strife and fighting and anger and all kinds of stuff, like
Hmm.
there literally was a piece that was not just like they, who knows if they really felt it, but they weren't acting out their anger. So we
Hmm.
really have to start looking at the energy and how it affects us. It's bringing to mind a story that it's like something that I experienced that was really like quite profound on how energy affects something. And I can't believe I'm sharing this story, but it was many years ago. I was at an MFR seminar, and it was very early on in what I was learning. And the seminar itself took place in Philadelphia. And so Philadelphia, if you don't know, is a very beautiful city, but there's like any city,
Hmm.
there's crime and very high rates of crime in certain areas. So if we were on a break, and a friend of mine and I were out walking, and we were in this like city square, and we were on the street. There was a set of lights, and across from the set of lights was a McDonald's. And all of a sudden, this woman was screaming, and like really loud screaming, and it caught my attention. I'm looking at it, and this guy is trying to steal her purse. Like he's like in broad daylight. People are walking by and not doing anything. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm like with my friend, and I turned to go to help her. And I'm pretty far away. And
Hmm.
she's like, what are you going to do? Get back here. What are you going to do? And I'm like, I need to do something. Nobody's like, I couldn't believe there was nobody there to help her. So I get to the light, and I am so focused on her and her getting help. And it was the funniest thing because I didn't even have to cross the street. What happened was is there was like some weird confusion about the guy, and he ended up letting her go. Like he just like all of a sudden looked like he got confused and walked off. And she didn't lose her purse and nothing happened to her. And I stood on the other side of the street, like still waiting for the light to change. And I was going, oh my God, what just happened? And I
Mm-hmm.
looked at my friend and I'm like, did you see that? And she goes, well, yeah, you were so focused on helping her that she goes, I think your energy went to help her. And that's the only explanation I can come up
Mm.
with. But that was like
Here, like, oh,
goosebumps experience, right? Like I kind of forgot all about that till we started having this
mm-hmm.
conversation. And it's like really remembering like how powerful we are, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And it was such a good lesson that I wish I could remember all the time when I'm like having my little bouts of self-pity.
The
But
focus of that, right? Like to remember to focus that.
yeah,
And the majority of people, it always astounds me. The majority of people can just walk by something like that or drive by or ignore something.
yeah,
I'm always
yeah,
astounded at that.
yeah.
But I think it comes from a place of fear.
Yeah.
I don't want to get
Yeah.
involved.
And maybe
I don't
too,
see it.
like
Yeah.
maybe living in a city, like you just kind of like it's an everyday thing. So you just don't. And I'm, at that time was living in a little tiny town, like, like a little hick
Mm-hmm.
town. So to me, I was like, you just would never do that in that situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
In, that place. And so maybe it's that too. I don't know. But, you know, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Interesting though.
fear does put blinders on us for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've wondered about that because I've been the one being attacked and had people walk by and drive by and ignore it. And I afterwards sat with that just like what do you think? I've not been one to just ignore those things, right? Like that's just not who I am. And maybe to my own detriment one day, who knows? It's just not who I am. And so I'm always like kind of have to sit and be like, what's happening here? What like why are you thinking that this is an okay thing to ignore? And I do
Mhm,
think it comes from a place of fear that
mhm.
it's, I don't want to get if I don't see it, I can pretend it's not there. I'm not a part of it. It
Yeah, or
won't
thank God
touch
it's
me.
not me getting that, Thank
Hmm.
God it's not me. Yeah.
But look at the energy that you put out just in wanting to help,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And like, I'm helping.
Yeah.
I am
My
going
friend
there
was
to
the
help.
funniest. She's like, she was actually trying to stop me. She's like, well, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do? Like, what can you do? And it's like, I don't know. I'll figure it out when I get there, but I'm going to do something.
Hmm.
It's like it's broad daylight. I'll just scream with her, like,
Yeah,
help, help, help.
fire. You're supposed to scream fire. Nobody wants to come for help, but they will for fire. That's what you're supposed to do. But
But see, I didn't even have to get that far because like it all like it
mm,
was the weirdest thing. Like, yeah, it still to this day blows my mind.
I would love to test that, right? But you can't get everybody in. Like, can we get everybody to think about helping? Put
Hmm.
that energy into helping,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Imagine if we could do that.
Hmm.
And then if everyone did that, whenever something happened, well, maybe nothing would happen, but also if it did, they would shake it off and go, I don't know what I was doing, but I'm going to keep going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're so like it's this big, we're here to forget, really, right? We forget that we are energetic beings, that we're spiritual beings. Like, what is it? Like 99.99999% of us is energy. And so is everything else around us. It's like we're just floating around and stuff that we don't see, and we're
Mhm.
so like if I see this bottle and I can touch it and it makes a sound and then I know that it's real. But the stuff I maybe sense or feel, it's a little scary to me because I can't see it, I can feel it, and so I'll try not to feel it because it's the same sort of thing, right? you
And
know
hence why we have so much disease because we create things that we can then see and feel.
right, yeah, yeah, all based on the fear, right?
Hmm.
So like what we're saying right now is like really the best thing you guys can do, all of us, you guys and us, is to
Hmm.
start doing whatever you can to move beyond your fear. Doesn't mean like, I don't mean like, go jump off buildings to get yourself over your fear, but like, it's like, what is metaphorically that building you're going to want to jump off of?
Hmm.
Like, where do you see fear coming up for you? Like, what is your biggest fear? Especially like, I'm pretty sure everyone on here is like a creative of some sort. Like, what is the thing? And I'd love if you guys, when you get to this point, just put in what is it that you're most afraid of when it comes to having yourself be seen, having yourself be heard. That could be what you're afraid of. I'm afraid of being seen. I'm afraid of being heard.
Hmm.
And then what would it mean for you? What would it mean for you if you're seen and heard? You
That's a
know,
big question, and I would
it's a
love to hear
huge
the answer.
question.
So if you
Yeah.
have that, like absolutely put the answer there. But I would also
Yes.
like you to think if everything is a belief system, right? We come here with no ideas. We build these belief systems. And so if everything is a belief system, what is the little thing that you believe? What is that little thing?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's probably getting in your way more than the big thing,
Mm-hmm.
because the little thing is going to come up over and over and over again. And the big thing is so far away because the little things are in the
Mm-hmm.
way.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at those fears, and we're talking about this a lot actually in my business community.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about belief systems, we're talking about fear. Well, right now we're talking about money specifically, but it's all about uncovering those beliefs, which comes down to value, how we value ourselves, which comes to those belief systems that we have. And what if we let those belief systems go? What if we change the narrative?
Mm-hmm.
What if we
Mm-hmm.
felt into something as opposed to what our brain tells us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just allowed that, because the brain is there in fear mode all the time. It's trying to keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything is scary. It doesn't know the difference between stepping in front of a bus and, trying a new platform for your website, or uh, trying a new exercise program. It doesn't know the difference. It's new, it's dangerous, it's scary. We're not going to do it. We're going to put
Mm-hmm.
anything in its place so we don't have to do that. And so when we start to look at that, it can shift everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
allowing your intuition, your internal knowing, your higher self, divine, whatever you want to call it, check in first, recognizing that instead of listening to that brain, the
Yeah.
cognitive telling
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and the whole thing, like, what you're saying is I want to add on to that and like kind of include the divine part of you that, all of us here right now that are gathered, that I see 10 on the chat and
Mm-hmm.
then us too. It's like if I look at all of us as energy and divinity, right? It's a totally different experience that I have than when I look at us as limited human beings. It's we're only limited because that is our programming,
Mm-hmm.
that we're limited to only so much. There's only so much to go around, and then you have to compete with it or for it. That's survival. When you're talking about fear of this or fear of that, we're really in our survival programming, trying to eke out a living. So when we're in survival, we're not creating, we're not imagining, we're not dreaming. That's just like what I illustrated in the beginning, that little battle that I go through sometimes when I want to go sit at my altar and daydream, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I have to earn the right to sit there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do enough physical labor to, do
Mm-hmm.
my chores first and then sit down and, do what I really want to do. And but if it's like, it's really just knowing that, you know, if you have, like, and I know all have our different, all have our different situations and things, but it's like in this moment right now, what do you have? I got a roof over my head. I had my lunch,
Mm-hmm.
I've got clothes to wear, and I've got this, right? So it's right now I have everything that I need. There's nothing chasing me, right? There's nothing I need to do to survive. And I think we need to start getting into the moment to moment way of being, it like right now, what's going on right now, right?
Mhm.
Because anything else is just you're projecting into the field of energy all around us that this is what I want more of. I want more. I want more situations and experiences where I get to see if I can survive them or not.
Yeah.
Right? How
Yes.
is it going to
Yes.
end? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about money right now in my community, right? In my business community, we're talking about money. And that's one of the things that we're talking about is, of course, energy. The more you put out there, the more you get back. So if you're putting out this sense of lack, I don't have enough, I don't know how it's going to happen, but then you're just getting more of that.
Hmm.
Things aren't getting paid. The fear, all of that is building, which then just perpetuates the problem. And
Yeah.
it's like, so how do we step out of that so that we don't? Because again, as a collective, that energy has rippled out to the point where we as a collective think there's not enough.
Hmm.
It's like, but there is. Like, let's think about this for a moment. Money is very made up. Like, if you think
Yes, it
about
is.
it, there's a few of those like paper dollars and metal coins that are floating around, but the majority of it is in computers somewhere, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And then people just move it around and somebody sort of keeps track of it. And then, well, we don't have enough, so we're just going to make some more. And then we'll just, change this over here so that other people have to pay more so that it looks like, and it's like, this is a very interesting system that we have. And it's created this system of lack feeling, this
Hmm.
lack feeling that is so not real.
Yeah. And when you look at it the way it's the game that's set up is like those people over there have more. Look at how they're living their life. So I want that too. So, but I'm never going to have that. So let me just, do this thing. The other point I was going to say about this really funny is because we put so much of our energy and attention on that paper thing,
Hmm.
right? That we call money. But we forget, like when we go to the grocery store and we put like $100 worth of food, which is going to go into our bodies to nourish us. We don't think like that. We go like, oh my gosh, that costs this much. Oh my gosh, so expensive. Now I don't have this amount of money. Da, 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 da. And like, but you have like a whole carriage full of food that is going to be fuel for you to live. It too is a resource, but we don't
Hmm.
hold the same value for that we do this paper representation that helps. It's really just meant to be an easy way for you to make exchanges and
Hmm.
buy goods, buy food, right? Because like imagine if you're a gardener and you have tomatoes and you want to trade for like beans or whatever. Now you got to carry your tomatoes everywhere. Like money is, paper
Hmm.
money is like credit card. Look, we just made it easier, right? Now we don't use paper money. It's
And
PayPal,
now we
it's
have this,
Venmo, it's
tap. It's like we just tap it and go, and it's like, what is real anymore?
right.
The energy we've put into it is what is real.
Yeah. Yes.
The
Yeah.
money is not.
Yeah, the
Uh,
illusion of it is very
yeah,
real.
yeah,
Yeah. It's very
yeah.
interesting when we start talking about it and breaking it down this way, right? That we
Hmm.
went from having coins and paper money because we went from bartering to that form of exchange to now we don't
Hmm.
even really see it,
Yeah.
anymore, except for like monthly bank statements or something, right? Or you can, kind of
Numbers written
get
on
on
a
your
piece of
phone
paper.
and look. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not, even that's not real, really. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't even get a paper statement anymore. It's
Yeah, and
on my
show
computer.
me my money. Show like I want to see where it is. Like it
I want to see
says I
how big
have,
that is.
yeah, I
Show me
want to
the
see that.
stack. I want to see the stack. I want that pile in like in Harry Potter when they go to the bank and they open it up and there's gold and all of
Yeah.
that piled in there.
Yeah.
No, I don't
It's
need that. But there's the physical of, the riches. You can see it.
yeah.
And that's part of our problem, right? Is that we don't see it, hence why we feel a lack. And then
Hmm.
that lack ripples out. Now everyone feels there's not enough,
Yeah.
must have more, must get my piece of the pie. It's not a pie. It's not
Yeah.
even real. It's not a
Right.
pie.
Yeah.
So you can
Yeah.
all have some.
I gotta
Everyone
get
can
mine
have
before
some.
you get yours because I want the
Yeah.
bigger piece. Yeah.
What would happen if we were all billionaires?
Yeah. What would indeed happen? Yeah. And yeah, what would indeed happen? Yeah, yeah.
Hmm,
Hmm.
something to think about.
Something
It's like
to think about. Yeah.
if they don't have it all. They have a lot. They
Hmm.
don't have it all, right? It's not a pie. It's an
Hmm.
energy that we can choose to shift differently.
Hmm.
That's up to us. And the more of us that do it, the better it is for everyone,
Hmm.
which is how we started this conversation, right? About how it
Yeah.
affects everyone.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Thoughts. I would love to hear thoughts.
I would love to hear thoughts at this point. Yeah, because this can keep going. I mean, this is pretty, I mean, it's I my mind is alight with all sorts of thoughts around this. And I'd love to hear where you guys, where is this leading you? What is it making you think about? And you know, contributing, how are you going to contribute to the betterment of not just, to make your life better, but knowing that when you're making your life better, that you're giving opportunity for someone else,
Hmm.
to see it, to experience it, because you're modeling it, and then you're putting the energy of that out into the
Hmm.
world, not for the sake of survival, but for the sake of creation, you know?
Hmm. And
Yeah.
it's not just money, it's everything, right? The
Hmm.
sharing of any resource, the knowledge you have,
Hmm.
the, the food you have, um, the car. Like I live downtown and I was part of a car share for the longest time because I got rid of my car. I didn't need it. It was nice to share a car. I didn't,
Hmm.
right? So now I just walk. We have one car and that's enough. I don't leave. I work at home now. So,
Hmm.
but like, why do we all have to have our own and maybe more than one? What if we shared them,
Hmm.
right? Like when we think about resources and this, I have to have the best, my own, more, that really comes from a place of lack, right?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
need to have more.
Yeah.
What if
Yeah.
we
If we
came
didn't
from a place
have
of
a such,
sharing?
if there was no such thing as lack, would there be a such thing as more?
Yeah.
I sat in contemplation one night, while I was at my altar for a really long time, and I came up with some really interesting ways of thinking about more and being enough, and how that competition, it pulls us off a track. It pulls us off our track, and I was sharing with Larissa, I was doing some channeled writing, and I was talking about, in my writing, talking about the joy of creating,
Hmm.
and how it's like play to me. But then where I glitch up on that is like, someone's going to pay me and I'm going to be able to pay my bills and buy more paint, and because I'm playing.
Hmm.
And it's like someone has to go out and do that, right? Because that actually is what is shifting consciousness. Artists, writers, creatives, the more we engage in the play of our work and let ourselves be seen and heard and experienced doing that, the more people will see that it's okay to do it. And it gets us out of our box. And like, just think of all the unique expressions that will occur, an abundance, a plethora. Because what I know about creating is the more I do it, the more creative I am, the
Hmm.
more ideas flood in, because it's like you unlock something within yourself, and it's just you're really just opening up channels in your brain for your brain to rewire and fire differently. So you start seeing the outer world much, much differently. And we were talking about being weird. It's like, let the weird come out, because we don't really know what's out there or how
Hmm.
it really is. We know what we know is through the confines of what we've been taught through our religions, through our schools, through our culture, all of those things. We're going along thinking we're being such big innovators when we're really not. We're
Hmm.
pushing an envelope, but like let's really get weird. Let's really get weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And allow that. We were talking earlier about the black and white thinking and how
Mm.
as creatives, healers, even neurodiverse, if you're able to be in those grays, and yet our world, our society very much wants us to fit into black or white. There's no gray. It's just black and white, and that's it. Pick one of those. You're with us or you're against us. You're on this
Hmm.
side or you're on that side. And it's not, it's absolutely gray. And I think that's often why we feel we don't fit in. We don't fit into this world. And I don't think really anyone fits into this world. Let's be honest. But we try so hard because we think we're the only ones who don't fit into this world. But it's not true. And the
Hmm.
more we see it, the more we see people be randomly weird, the more okay it is for us to be weird and not the black or white. And I'm doing my part. I don't know about you, but I'm doing my part.
It's like I was thinking of like random participate in random acts of kindness, and I'm like participate in random acts of
Yeah.
weirdness. Do something weird every
Yes.
once in a while,
Just
and
go be
weird in
weird.
the sense like it's just out of the norm, out of like someone's what someone might expect
Hmm.
out of you. Like blow their minds a little bit with your wisdom, intelligence, beauty, and creativity. I know you have it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what if you wanted to paint your walls lime green?
Hmm.
What would other people say?
Yeah.
Are they living there? Who cares if your walls are lime green? Whatever color it is for you. For me, it would be purple, but
Hmm.
who cares?
Yeah.
What makes you do more of
Hmm.
that? Show up in the outfit that you love, regardless of what other people think of it. And I
Hmm.
know it's easier said than done. I get it. But the more I step into who I am, right? Because it's a process. You do a little bit of a dance back and forth. The more
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, what difference does it make? The clean house. Oh my goodness, I would make myself absolutely nuts trying to keep the house clean and with kids and working and all the things and making sure this was done and then after the kids to do that and unless we're growing things until it gets old, does it matter if the house is messy? Does it matter? It's just
Hmm.
lived in, right? Does it matter if somebody sees it that way?
Hmm.
And those things, the societal norms that are important to somebody that we try to fit into just make us miserable.
I
Just
like how you
miserable.
said that important to somebody. Yeah, like who is that
Yeah,
somebody?
who is that somebody? My mother. My mother was definitely that somebody. She was
We must do it this way.
so worried all the time about what people thought and
Yeah.
having the best of this so that people would, yeah. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting. So
Hmm.
what if we put the energy into what makes us authentically us and
Hmm.
share that and allow that and the ripple effect of that?
Hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah, and knowing that it's a process, just like you said, as you said earlier, that, it's a step at a time. It's something you do a little bit each day. It's not, you know, it gets to be a process, it gets to be a practice. And so like
Mhm.
nothing, it's funny, I do this to myself all the time. Like I have tons of stuff going on all the time. It's just the way I work. But like what I've noticed about being in this bubble too, one of the things I noticed about myself is that I work really well working on several different things at once and having the freedom to do this for a little bit and then bop over there. And so the way I set up my studio now is so that I have different paintings, projects, places to practice and play
Mhm.
all around, and I just move from bit to bit to bit to bit. And before I know it, 3 hours have gone by and I'm like, oh my God. And I don't look at productivity. I've gotten to the point now that I'm like, I am making progress, like each one of these paintings I'm bringing into completion. And each one will call me, like right now I'm working on Hosho, who's, he's all seeing, all knowing, very wise lion person.
Mhm.
He's got a story that goes with him too. And so, I used to get into the self beat up of like, I'm not doing enough, or I haven't brought it into completion in a certain amount of time. Well, what I've learned about like letting him rest for a little bit, and when he calls me to like say, hey, I want you to work on me now, I learn something. I pick something up. Like we have to recognize too that like the things that we're bringing in, I'm getting chills on this one. I don't know if everyone's doing this, but I'm getting a sense that if you're here listening to this, this is you, that you have something specific to share through your creative endeavors. And it doesn't come in all at once all the time. That there's something that we get to learn in the process of creating, that there is a flow. That's the feminine flow. This is the feminine part of the conversation, is learning to allow to create as a feminine creator and masculine, because you can't have one without the other. They're polarities, but they're within each other, right? It's like, we were talking earlier about black and white and light, and and I'll throw light and dark in there too. And it's like, we want light, 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 but try and make a painting with no dark in it. Really try and make a painting with no dark in it. It's really hard. There's no depth to it. It's all like almost monotonous, right? So we need this, like the light is contained in the dark and the dark is contained in the light. The masculine's contained in the feminine and the feminine's contained in the masculine. It's us learning to balance that in a way that is unique to you, unique to your experience, right? Without comparing it to the way Larissa does it. Larissa, the way Larissa does it must be right and I suck, I'm wrong, right? No.
Trust me, no. No.
Yeah. But that's part of the freakiness of the
Mhm.
weirdness. If I don't do it the way you're doing it, I must be doing it wrong, because for some reason in my mind made you, the person that knows something that I don't know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I don't, um, I don't teach a finished painting. Like I don't teach you how to do step A, B, C, D,
Yeah.
because I am very much about the process, and it's like what is coming out, what is coming for you,
Yeah, I
and
agree with that. That's how I am too. It's like I
yeah,
never want to teach technique. It's like I want to teach you to like express yourself.
yeah. And technique is wonderful. It's nice to have different techniques,
Yeah.
but just using technique to come up with X, that's not an expression to me.
Yeah.
Some might disagree with me, but to me, it's not an expression.
Yeah, it's
It's a
funny.
step by
I
step, paint
I
by
go
number.
back to, yeah, I go back to body work. And one of the things that I love about being an artist and a body worker is that you learn techniques, in certain
Mm,
modalities. There's certain techniques, hand positions, and that kind of stuff, and methods. But where your work really starts to take off is when you start to realize the technique is just the thing that opened the door for you. So while you're learning these techniques and learning what works and what doesn't work, or what works in this instance but not in that instance, or this person and not that person, is that you're starting to build an intuitive language with this technique. I used to just get, like, when I was working with someone, I just feel their body and just get an image of a certain technique. Now I know, I would say, thousands, millions of techniques.
mhm,
And as you're learning them, you're like, well, no, where am I ever going to use this? Or what application is this going to have? It's when you start getting technique oriented that you think that that is the end all be all. That's just
mhm,
the door opener. The technique will work. It'll, like with painting, it'll make you a beautiful painting. But where the soul comes through the painting is when you abandon the technique. You let the technique just get you to
mhm,
where you're at that precipice of your soul coming through your work.
mhm. Yeah, which is what creative expression is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a
Yeah.
paint by numbers.
Yeah.
It's expressing. And the fear that goes with expressing comes from that fear of sharing part of yourself, right? Because we've
Yeah.
been told we have to be a certain way, we have to show up a certain way, fit into this box. And when we can step out of that, and that's why the art journal can be so wonderful, because it
Mm-hmm.
allows you to express in a safe, I'm gonna air quotes that one, safe way. and,
A
and
perceived safe.
perceived safe. And the whole idea of the precious canvas or the precious supplies, because what we're expressing is not enough.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's mm. Yes, we
Yeah.
could have a whole conversation about that one.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Because it's going to lead me to that because yeah, one of the things that I struggle with is like, painting on a canvas. Like I get these great ideas all the time, but I use paper a lot because, I'm like, oh, once I put it on a canvas, like, what am I going to do with it? It's big real estate, and I'm not, it's like, well, the next step, Deb, is to go sell it, right? Let it be seen,
Mm,
right? So it's like that little dance that I'm doing with myself, which, clearly in when I get into that, because I can have a whole conversation right here about what I should be doing. But like when I boil it down and I connect with my soul says, finish these paintings
mhm,
because this experience is going to lead you to the next. Just stay on target with
mm,
this. Just stay on
yeah.
target with this. You'll do other things. Sometimes, and this is the other part of that, sometimes the works I see like for future canvases is really just a distraction away from this stuff I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm,
I've
yes.
been doing that for a few years, with that.
Mm,
Because what is it going to mean for me when I complete these? Who am I going to be? What woman, what is going to unfold in my life?
mhm.
All of
Because
those
a new
things that
door
I,
will open.
yeah, totally will totally open. Yeah,
Mm,
because it's a different kind of envelope we're pressing, right? So it doesn't mean like, what we're talking about here being creative. It doesn't mean that you need to start going out and knocking down doors of galleries to get your work seen or, to post it or whatever. It means just freaking do your work,
mhm,
and then let the work inform you as to where it wants to go and what, how does it want to be shared with the world,
mm,
but you got to do the work first,
yeah.
you know.
And just because you create it doesn't mean you need to sell it.
There is that too,
We
right?
have
There
that
is that too.
conversation
Yep.
all the time in my community because there's this idea, this masculine energy that it says must have value to someone else, must be
Hmm.
producing. So if I'm creating, I must be producing something. It has to be of value to someone else. So I must sell it. Otherwise, I'm wasting time. So if I'm going to waste time, I'm going to do these things so that other people will purchase them.
Hmm.
What if you just created for the sake of creating?
Yep. Yep. For the fun of it, like literally the paintings behind me, I started like 3 years ago. They just came in very rapidly. And I knew there was no way, the way they were coming in, there was no way I could finish each one all at once. And
Hmm.
they came to me ceremonially. They came to me because I was playing in the energetic field that I learned how to work in through the shamanic teacher that I have.
Hmm.
And it's gonna like it's a certain tradition and a certain lineage, but what it does is it opens up the doorway for me to find me and all aspects of me. And I never set out making these paintings to sell. And I don't think they'll ever sell. But what I notice is that it enhances my ceremonial experience.
Hmm.
And it's like, that's why I call it the Cosmic Dreaming Lodge, because that's what it is. It's like,
Hmm.
it's a place for me to heal, dream, and create. And it's like, then I invite others in to do the same, but they're not going to create what I create. They're going to unlock themselves through the sense of play and playing on the earth and opening up their mind and opening up their body and realizing that this is the vehicle of expression
Hmm.
that allows you, that's just going to allow me to play more. Right. And
Hmm.
it's like, it's like Pee-wee's Playhouse. It's my playhouse. It's like, why don't we have this? Why don't we allow ourselves this? You
Yeah,
know,
because it's a waste of time.
Yeah, no, you'll never amount to anything. You're not going to make any. What do you think? You're going to make some money at it? I remember my brother saying, he didn't say that. What he said to me is like, how can you like take your God-given gift and make money with it? And I'm like, so like, what's the difference? But you're a really good electrician. Like I would say you're very gifted in how like you just kind of
Mm,
came to, working with electricity in the way that you do. Like you get to make money at that. Why can't I?
yes. This value structure we have in our society, right? That
Yeah.
which then we take on in our belief systems that, if as a creative, well, I can't make money, the starving artist, all of those things that we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, no, it's not true.
Yeah.
None of
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah. It's all right for other people to make money off of your art, but you
Yes.
can't. Yeah, you must
Yes.
starve, artist, you know?
Yeah, and just allowing for the thought that it doesn't have to be that way. That is a belief system that you have. Yes, it's
Mm,
been fed to you, as most of our belief systems have been, right? We don't just magically decide, oh, I'm going to have this belief system. No, it comes from somewhere, and
hmm
we choose to take it on or not, not consciously, but we choose to take it on or not. And then we can also then choose consciously to not, right? We can choose to do away with that belief system. It's like it's not
hmm
serving me. So what if I just did away with that belief system
hmm
and replaced
hmm
it with a different belief system? And the whole starving artist one is one you definitely want to get rid of. But you also don't have to sell your work. You don't have
Yeah.
to sell your work.
Yeah.
If you choose to, you can. If you choose to, because that's how your work wants to show up in the world,
Yeah. Yeah,
great.
it's just a matter, it's just a matter of listening, and deep listening and really trusting what you get. There's no wrong, if not, it's like what we were kind of saying in the beginning is like the practices that you do, how it affects the whole, just the energy of you going into your studio and creating
Mhm.
goes out into the world, whether you're meditating, creating, whatever, because you let yourself be free and you let yourself play and you're starting to discover who you are and what you love and all that kind of stuff. And you're nurturing and nourishing yourself.
Mhm.
You're going to start moving through the world differently. You're changing yourself. As I said, you're rewiring your brain and your thinking and how you see the world, and that does extrapolate out. And that's the thing. It's like, really, we could keep this so simple.
So simple.
So simple. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, again, we would love to hear from you to see, your thoughts on what we've been saying, but also, maybe as there's a belief system that you are thinking, I don't want this one anymore. What can I do with this? Just hand it
Yeah.
off. Hand it off. You don't need it. Just put it in the chat, get rid of it.
Yeah.
And
Once you mention it, you call it out by name. You're
mm,
outing it, right? You're just going to toss it out there
yeah,
and it will energetically start to shift for you immediately because it has to.
once you recognize it for what it
Yeah.
is,
And you're in a
it's a
powerful
belief that you
place
have.
right now, because we're
Mm,
in this container that we energetically are holding that transformation for you. We're amplifying it. All of us here are doing that without even knowing we're doing that. Because remember, we're also divine beings as well as human beings,
mm,
and it's just remembering that you're the divine as well, you know?
yes. Yes, absolutely.
hmm
Absolutely. So yeah, put it out there. Put it, no, see now they're jumping off. They're like, no, no, no,
No, not me, not me.
don't make me.
Hey, you can hang on to it if you want to.
Yes,
You
that's
know,
completely up to
it's
you.
it's funny because it's like it's confession. It's why we have confession. And it's like, I'm not Catholic, but I used to hate the idea of that. Like, oh, da, 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 da. But like through my shamanic practice, what I've learned about that is like you're just releasing something that you are holding on to
Just heavy
that
weight.
yeah, that's heavy weight and you're just confessing it to another. We used to do this before we do our ceremonial work. It's a clearing. And
Hmm.
if you can be with someone who is super that you trust, that is non-judgmental, that you know that they're not, it's going to be easier for you to just kind of unload that,
Hmm.
and lighten your load a little bit, because then it creates an opening for yourself. And you don't have to do it here. You can just shout it out in your room, and we won't hear you, but
Mm. Write it
but
down. Bring that awareness to it. Just
write it
bring that
down and burn
awareness
it.
to your belief system. Yeah.
Write it down and burn it, like, it's we have to get out of the shame too. The shame is part of that, right? Like, oh, I can never tell people like I did that,
Hmm.
it's like, what are we talking about that you're doing that's just so bad, It's like you're only, I don't want to say it like this because it sounds like it's diminishing it, but who you're hurting is yourself. It's not like you're only hurting yourself. It's who you're hurting is yourself. That's the most important thing,
Hmm.
because nobody knows what the internal struggles are within you, what you're fighting with, what you're thinking about. And, even if you're, judging another person, which we all do, right? It's
Mm.
just a
It's the brain
mirror.
that just jumps right in there.
Yeah.
It's a safety mechanism.
Yeah, and that's where we get to have forgiveness too, is that like, notice like I did this practice one time because I forgot what book I was reading, but that was like the practice in the book is like notice how many times I judge and like how subtle the judging is. When someone walks by me wearing something that I would never wear, like, ugh.
Mhm.
It's like, who do you think you are doing that, But it's just if it all starts with awareness. Like notice where you're doing these things. It just unlocks a doorway for you. It's not meant to do self-punishment or hurt yourself in any way. It's like we have to bring these things to the light. This is the dark stuff that we're holding on to because it's bad and it's wrong. And you were told not to do it, but yet everyone freaking does it all the time. You're doing it right now and you don't even know you're doing it.
Oh yes, yes. Well, and judgment is just that. Like it's your brain kicks in, it's a safety mechanism. You're judging the situation. What then shifts is whether you carry it based on your belief system, right? And so then you might take it further with, well, I would never wear that outfit, or, whatever it is, I wouldn't drive that car. Well, that car looks like it's falling apart. Whatever story it is we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
So the brain kicks in with, a warning, judging the situation for safety, and then our belief system steps in and goes, no, no, or I want that. Why do they get it and I don't get it? Whatever
Mm-hmm.
those things are that we're judging. And so then we can choose at that point to go, wait a second. What difference does it make if they wear that outfit, if it makes them happy? What
Mm-hmm.
difference does it make? They have a car, great on them, right? What difference does it make? And so that's where we can catch ourselves with that.
Yeah.
Because again, that's the collective energy that comes from that. If we're all doing that and we all start to shift that and just allow people to be who they are,
Mm-hmm.
ourselves included,
Yeah,
because we
ourselves
judge
included.
ourselves the most.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. Like I'm smiling a little bit because I had this incident on the trail yesterday. So my husband, who's blind, we're out hiking, and we do it all the time. He's good at being blind. He's very well practiced at it. Well, sometimes we'll run across people that they get, some of them are like, yeah, he's blind, or others they're over like falling over themselves to help. And we ran across some people that were falling all over themselves to help. What they were doing in a sense was they're blinding him further because they're getting in his way. He can't feel, he can't sense, and he can't hear. All he can hear is them. And what they're saying is confusing to him because he doesn't get over here, over there, because
Mhm.
he can't see where they're pointing. So I said something like, could you please be quiet? He's trying to figure it out. And I said it with a little
Mhm.
force and authority. Well, I offended somebody. I totally offended somebody. And they were like, and the one of the people in the group too actually grabbed him and pulled him. And I got even more mother bearish about like, you leave him alone and let him do it, is what I said. Just let him alone and let him do it. And this other woman in the group, could you please stop being so rude? And I didn't say anything because I was like, what? So she's there judging me and my tone of voice. I triggered her, right?
Mhm.
I triggered her because I'm wanting to help him be empowered to do what he needs to do to get through this crowd. Well, they're all like, oh, let me help you, oh, la, 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 which is fine, but it's like it's hilarious to me at that moment. And I'm just going to maintain my center. But it was funny after it was all said and done with, when they went on their merry way. I got like so steamed because and then I kind of sat and like, why am I so steamed? Why am I so steamed? And what I realized is like, I just have a passion for empowerment.
Mm.
I am so passionate about
And they got
empowerment.
in the way of it.
Yeah. And that like, yeah, when someone is doing something, sometimes help can be disempowering. And like that's where my come from was. And I'm like, I'm gonna be okay with that she judged me, that she was trying to make me wrong because I triggered something in her. I'm gonna be good with that. And I'm gonna let all of this go. But I did have to analyze it a little bit.
And that's I think an okay thing to do because then we start to understand ourselves better, right? We
Absolutely. Yeah.
understand why we're triggered. And then when we have that understanding, then we can go, okay, knowing that that's what triggers me, what do I want to do differently?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's a perfectly acceptable thing to do.
Hmm.
And many people come from the place, and I've had this conversation with Dave as well,
Yeah.
come from that place of wanting to help, but not because they're wanting to empower, but because it makes them feel good
Yeah.
to help,
Yeah.
but they're not being helpful.
Right. Right.
Right. And so really looking at what's really going on there, I think is a big part of that.
Yeah,
I can do
absolutely.
that.
Because we're very codependent creatures as well. We've learned that lesson very well. And, we do when it's like we feel helpless, like I need to help. But, it's really like seeing, that struggle that someone's going through and knowing like they may be okay with that struggle. It may
Mm,
not be struggle to them. It looks like struggle to you, you
mhm.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did get, thank you, Carol, a lesson in learning to
Woohoo!
cultivate patience in that group. Yes.
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 Yes, Carol.
I can definitely see how that would, yeah, that's one of mine for sure. It's like, why
Yeah.
don't you get this? Why
Yeah.
don't you understand this? And then I'm like, well, why would they? Why would
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
I know something. That doesn't mean they know something.
Yeah.
Yes, I've had to
And
sit with that one a lot. Yeah.
yeah. And yeah. And I'm learning too, because, Dave and I have this all the time where I'm the closest person to him. And sometimes I watch him struggle and it's like, I just can't take it anymore. So I'm going to step in and do it. And it does causes a problem.
Hmm.
It's like, if I don't ask him, do you need support? Then I have no right or business getting involved in what he's choosing to do.
Hmm.
That's quite a dance. That's quite a dance. But we're getting codependency lessons on really deep levels, and it's very insidious. It is a very insidious thing. Yeah.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to be conscious of our time.
Yes.
And I know it goes by so quickly.
Super
So,
fast.
is there any final thoughts you wanted to share before we went today?
No, nothing really. Just, I guess I just want to share that, the Cosmic Dreaming Lodge, I'm opening up now to do week-long retreats here in Sedona. So if that's something that interests you, just reach out. You can find me through my website and just get on my list and, email me or through social media. If that's something that interests you, we can have a conversation about that. That's kind of all I'm doing right now. And it's quite an interesting program in getting in touch with the land, letting Pachamama work with you and the healing energy, some hands-on work and creativity. I have one person that I'm working with next month that's coming out, and I'm so excited because I haven't done one since last year. I got to do one last year.
Mhm.
But now this is all I want to do. So it's just so much fun to work one-on-one with somebody, and the energies of Sedona, which are very, very potent. And it really unlocks your creativity as well as any kind of pain and stuff that you may be going through. Because sometimes as we're ascending in our energies, that, we get stuck in our body too. So it's like a three-pronged sort of program that really, really amplifies what you're here to do in the world. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that is exciting. That is exciting. On our side, on the Creative You Healing, we have our awakening program. We're pretty much that's our focus right now, tapping
Mhm.
into the feminine divine, bringing harmony to those energies, I think. I was going to say balance, and balance isn't sitting well with me, but
Mhm.
we live in this very masculine energy world, and we need both. We need both. So, how do we bring more of the divine feminine in so that we can bring harmony to our own selves, which then, of course, that ripple effect. So, we have our awakening program. And then on the business side, the Creative You Business, we are also sharing, we have healers, creatives, coaches, spiritual people that are building and growing their businesses in new ways,
Mhm.
and more alignment with their own
Mhm.
selves, how they want to show up in the world, more divine feminine energy again, not the push and the manipulation and the tricking of people and all of those things. Let's work in collaboration. Let's work
Yeah.
together. Like that's been an amazing part of it. And so we just
Yeah.
have lots of things like that. So yes, links will be below when we get done. I will put them there. But we don't have anything. I don't have anything right. Oh, yes, Loving, Healing, Creating 2.0. So that's our fifth annual, but we're doing it a little different this year. So we're spreading it out over the whole year. And yeah, so that's exciting. So we have a new session dropping this weekend. Yeah, this weekend coming. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I just have to say too that, knowing you as well as I do, that the business side of what you're working on is really exciting every time you talk about it. The energy that you've been putting into that and what you're seeing for results with people it's just exciting just to witness you moving through that with folks. So I actually had to
Oh,
throw
thank
that
you. Yeah. It's
little
been
plug
really
in there.
exciting to see the shift in these women doing things differently,
Hmm.
right? And recognizing that they could do things differently. It doesn't have to be done. When you start a business and you're told, oh, you have to do this and you have to do that. And it's like, do you? Do you though? Right?
Hmm.
And so, like, what's a different way? And it's not going to be the same for everybody. And that's one
Yep.
of the things we all come together and we have a lot of live sessions because it's just that. Like, if we come together in that collective energy, how can we shift the way we move? Right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's been amazing.
And
It's
that
true.
is, by the way, very feminine way of creating. It's
Hmm.
that group, knowing how to work that group. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so
So,
cool.
it's been wonderful. Well, thank you, everyone. And I will push the buttons that do the thing and hope it all works out. And we will see you next month.